everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, back to talk more Witcher. And man, do I wish I hadn't waited. But life happens, work happens, other things happen. Gotta make other videos. But I'm so glad that I'm back doing this. It's only been like a day. I try not to do multiples. And I think it kind of showed by the time I got to the third one in a day. I think you kind of start to get burned out a little bit on talking about something. And I think it feels more special when you take a little bit of time. Because, wow, am I glad. Each episode has been getting better and better. And episode 4 of Season 1 of The Witcher, of Banquets, Bastards, and Burials, is a fantastic episode. Full spoilers if you have not seen this. And man, did we learn some stuff in this episode. So let's just talk about the elephant in the room. One of the commenters, I like to tell people don't put spoilers in the comment section, but somebody spoiled something in the episode that we're about to talk about, and that is the timeline. I didn't know about the timeline. It all seemed like it was all happening at the same time, but it's not. I'm not quite sure how much time has passed, but everything with Ciri is in the present. The sacking of Sintra by Nilfgaard, that's all happening right now. The stuff with Yennefer's origin, that was all in the past. But how far in the past? Because she says in this, she's been at this for 30 years. Okay? So that seems even further back than the Witcher story, which seems to start about 10 years in the past. Or maybe it's even longer than that. Maybe his is concordance with hers. Maybe this, but see, the girl, the kid would be like about, somebody said 10 years. So it would make sense that this is about 10 years in his past. And everything is kind of converging onto this moment of him having to find her. And how did he get to that point? But we don't know that at first. And that makes this even better when you get to the 4th episode to find this out. Also, I started it here in the middle because the beginning of this episode kind of, it's a little slow start. But once it gets going, right about here in the episode is when things really get going. And I really love the special effects here. I love the story with Yennefer. So we're just going to talk about Ciri's story first. I got everything broken down. But again, acting, check. Production value, check. Pacing, awesome. It starts out a little, like gets you going a little slow, setting up the story as we're going along. And then once it hits, it just doesn't stop. That's incredible. And when you can forget, when you can get so lost in an episode or a movie where things that I should realize are coming or going to happen or probable, and I completely forget because I'm so into it, that's another great way to talk about like a show that's just fantastic. So far, I've not watched anybody else's stuff, but I'm hearing that there's a lot of negativity around this show. Just like Watchmen, anything that has a fandom is probably going to take this a lot harder than somebody like me, who is kind of from the outside looking in, and I don't have that internal bias. Like I said, I've played some of the games, but not a lot, to where I'm getting bent out of shape over things. So let's talk about Banquets, Bastards, and Burials. Wow. Okay, so Ciri's story. She follows the voices, right, into the forest. We get up on this light, and she's set upon this group of warrior women, and she's in Broccolon Forest. And I'm like, okay, I'm down, because this looks like this is something else. Like, it's beautiful, and they're wearing greens, and it's all really, foresty. Like, it reminds me of, like, Lord of the Rings and the elves that lived in the forest. Like a whole other subclass, almost like a jungle. And we find out that they're dryads, this group that has fought mutants and men to take this forest, special places like this, and they kind of own it. They're the only things left there. And we also find out that her friend Dara is still alive. He only took the one arrow to the like shoulder. Everybody gets hit in the shoulder. Ciri learns that Dara's people were slaughtered by her grandmothers, and while she keeps kind of denying things, she's realizing everything's getting peeled back. All the things that she thought she knew and understand, and truths that she thought she understood by being in court, are turning out to be falsehoods. pretty lies that the princesses are told so that they don't have to face the harsh realities until they come of age. Um, and then, I mean, just because she's got the simplest story, they tell her that uh, if she drinks the waters that come in this place, that she'll forget all of this. This will all go away, and you'll just be able to live in peace with the forest, and you won't have to worry about the problems of men and everything outside of it. And part of me thinks that this was like a trap, and it could be a trap to some, like almost like a siren song kind of thing, where you have a mission and you drink something and you choose to forget your destiny. In her dreams, though, she's seeing red and blood and slaughter and that fucking bird head guy. I can't take seriously. I just can't. I'm sure that he's described that way. He probably looks that way in the books. Maybe he's even in the games. I don't know, but I just can't take him seriously. Maybe if he was an actor I recognized, I might be able to take him seriously, but he's a nobody. But I shouldn't say he's a nobody. Somebody knows him. Like, he's a known actor somewhere probably. I'm not familiar with this guy. And so it's easy to not take him seriously for myself. Well, Dara drinks the waters, and he's good. He's all good. He's like, everything's going to be fine. But she drinks the waters and nothing happens. And so they tell her that she needs to go to Shan Kayan, the source of the magic there. And when she does, it's this big tree. She cuts into it, she drinks it, and she's suddenly like in a desert. And where this tree that's glowing, kind of like the trees in Avatar, but the tree speaks and says, "What are you, child?" So I don't know. That's pretty much her story in a nutshell. But we find out that her story is what's been going on right now, and these people are hunting her still. Now let's get to the first part where this really kicks into high gear, and that's with Yennefer, who, boy, man, I had her name written down somewhere, but that's the actress. She's really awesome. I know that she doesn't really have purple eyes, but she's a great actress, and she's one of the most stunning women I've ever seen. And while Yennefer in the games is kind of a pale brunette, I like the choice here. Okay. And like I said, she's a pretty decent actress, and she's just stone cold gorgeous. But also kind of stone cold in just reality. Like, she's 30 years now being in this. What she did to get to this point, to become who she is now, she's pretty hardcore. And she's been working for this king of an Adrian. She's been his mage for like 30 years. And she's with the queen, or like, I don't know who she is. I'm assuming she's the queen with a newborn baby girl. And their carriage is attacked. And these guys are just torn the fuck apart, man. I mean, just blood everywhere, arms, limbs, everything, everywhere. And they come out of the carriage. It's a pretty intense scene. There's a lot of intensity in this episode, by the way. Like, really intense. And there's this wizard-looking guy who's got a messed up face. And he's got this, like, CGI, like, bug. I don't know if that's, like, the manticores that kind of Geralt and the rest of these guys were talking about earlier. But it's a really scary-looking bug, like, creature. And it attacks, and Yennefer creates a portal to another world, like another area of the planet. And they go through, and they're in a desert. And they're trying to catch their breath. But the guy is right there, and they got to run, and the bug kills one of the person that was with them, the one surviving guard, as they escape again. And this time they jump through, and they're in, like, back in a medieval town that's all dirty and mud and rainy. And they're like, "You've got something on you. He's tracking us. I don't know what the king gave you," but they don't even have time to breathe. This thing, he is already there. And she tries to hold it off. It's really cool, really intense. She creates another portal, and meanwhile, this queen girl, she starts talking all kinds of shit to Yennefer because she's afraid. And like, "You worthless bitch." And I'm like, and I think she also says witch, but she's showing no, like, kind of gratitude that this woman's risking her life too. Your husband's the one who put out this hit. They figure it out that he put a hit out on her. because she's not been giving him male heirs. So he got tired of waiting, and now he's basically willing to give up his mage too, which kind of puts Yennefer's like world in a tailspin too, because she's been helping this guy for 30 years, and that's what he thinks of her after all this time. Or at least that's what we know on the surface, right? So they go through again, and now they're on a cliff, and Yennefer just bails. I loved it. Because she's calling her, "You worthless witch! What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to be here to protect me." And so she just bounces. She bounces and then lands up in this field of flowers. Meanwhile, and she leaves her to die with the baby. We're kind of caught up to her part of the story anyway. And she says, "Take the baby. Go ahead, use it as a sacrifice. Let me live. I can give him a male heir." This guy don't care. He throws a knife, slits her throat. I mean, what mother, like survival. I mean, that's probably, I could say a lot of things that are floating through my head right now that are just dark, but I'm not going to do it. But all of a sudden, before this thing can kill the baby, Yennefer arrives and saves the day and takes the baby and leaps through another portal. But unfortunately, this guy tags her as she jumps through with his blade, and they land in the water, and the baby drowns. And she can't save the baby, and it's really upsetting her, and she's bleeding, and she ends up on the beach kind of giving her own little eulogy to this baby, and how, honestly, it kind of like, she's like, well, you kind of skipped the line and made it. You kind of won in a way, because your life would have been terrible. And she talks about how women are just vessels for people to take. She says people, or she says for people, I don't know what wording she uses, vessels to be taken from, like, and they just keep taking and taking until you're alone or empty. And I took it to mean that she means that men take and take and take from women until they're nothing left, that they're hollow in the inside, they're empty. Like, just the vessel is now done and used up. And once they're done with, then the men move on. That's how I'm taking. And so I have a feeling that Yennefer is going to be, coming for the guy who put the hit out on her. I mean, it'll be less about the baby and the girl and more about, like, I've been doing this for you for 30 years. You just tried to fucking kill me? So that's Yennefer's part of the story, and it's intense. Now we get to Geralt's part of the story, and at the beginning of this, there's this guy regaling the whole place with this epic tale of this huge monster that we don't get to see. If this was the game, we'd probably get to see this whole thing, but oh well. I guess they have to save on the budget. But it's funny as it's the embellishment of the men that lived through it. I saw him get swallowed whole and he's died. And it's at this point that we realize the bard is there writing it down. He's like, no, not really. He's fine. And I'm warming up to this bard character. He's a little annoying, but the Witcher comes in. He is fine, covered in guts. And the bard talks him into going with him to this wedding to protect him from the guys that have the lords there that have wives that he slept with. And there's probably a few of them that want to kill him because of it. Because, they always have those stories of the bards that sing songs that, spread the legs of ladies of court. And now there's some guys that want to kill him. And so he goes with him because there's going to be wine and women and song and booze. And it's just going to be a good time. You don't have to do anything. You don't even really have to go. You're not going as a witcher. Nobody's going to know who you are, except they immediately know who he is. Because Mousesack is there. And that's when I go, oh, shit. This is in the past. This is before everything went down. This is before Ciri was born. This is the origin of Geralt's, introduction to these people and how there's this connection now. And Mousesack is somebody that he knows, who is also magically inclined. I like the whole kind of awkwardness of court and Geralt being there and listening to these men who he doesn't want to kill anyone for them, and he doesn't want to die for them either. And the queen and him and their little back and forth. It's almost like foreplay. This queen is, when you see her in the first episode, you can tell she was a fighter or was a fighter, and kind of, I don't know, she's not worn down or nothing, but she just seems off in the first episode compared to here, where she's ferocious. She is like virile and full of life and ready to take the world on. He isn't even married to her yet. And she's trying to basically auction off her daughter to the person that seems the best suited. And what ends up happening is this guy named, okay, Dooney comes in. There's also a few things like how Geralt talks about how there can't be any more Witchers because of the sack of Kaer Morhen. But this guy named Urchion of Erlenwald, God, these freaking names. He's a cursed knight who comes in, and the queen's like, kill this son of a bitch, Geralt. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do this for you. Like, you can't tell me what to do. This guy is not what you think he is. And he ends up fighting with him. She tries to have this guy killed because he's saying that he's laying claim to the marriage through the laws of surprise. I have no idea what that is until a little bit later. So they get into this huge, massive fight. And the queen eventually stops everything because all these people want to jump in. And they're all like, no, this is between everybody else. The queen finally gets it to stop. And they try to talk it out. Or at least you think they're talking it out. Right? So you find out that this guy saved the queen's father. And as payment, he took the laws of surprise, not knowing what that would be. Because they talk about how it could be a crop or a pup. Like you just don't know what the law of surprise is going to be in this situation. And in this case, it happened to be the daughter of the queen. And I still don't know quite how this all works. But if you don't follow it and you break destiny, calamity can befall you. And so everyone, except for the queen, seems to agree with this. Even Geralt's like, you can't really get in the way of this stuff. You really shouldn't. It's the laws. You never know what it's going to be. This ends up biting Geralt in the ass in the end. But it's all really interesting. I like hearing these things that I've never heard of before. And the fact that this is playing out kind of like a fairy tale, like a cursed knight who has to get the kiss and the blessing of this and that and the other. We always see that in like Disney movies, but we don't see it in like these kind of mature themed shows or movies done very well, if at all. But this is done really well. I mean, good Lord. So she says that she'll honor this, right? That, But here's the thing. I don't know why she's making such a big deal about it in the first place, because she said to Geralt that she basically kind of wanted her to be able to choose herself. So she's choosing. Now, maybe she didn't want her to choose Sonic the Hedgehog, but, this is where we're at. And she seems to like him. So, maybe this is just xenophobia, or maybe it's not a good enough financial deal because he doesn't seem to come from anywhere. But everybody else seems to know it, and she's not. So that's the only part that kind of bothers me, is like why she's being such a pain in the ass about it. So she tries to kill him here, and it's pretty telegraphed that that's what's going to happen. Everybody's way too happy, and she gets way too close, like, oh, here's your blessing, And that's when we find out that, and I have her name written down, Pavetta, her daughter, which... I guess her dad must have white hair, because I don't know where they get the blonde hair. The only person with hair this color almost is Geralt. Her powers kick in, like, big time, man, like a mutant gene. Again, like Geralt is, I don't know. But I don't want to go down the X-Men route again. Everything always ends up, it's either X-Men or X-Files with me. I apologize. So they thought like it skipped an age or whatever. No, it's not, and they can't break through this spell that's going on, or this power that's going on, this spitting vortex. As she's speaking elder words to this guy, Geralt, then he's trying to reach them. Mousesack's trying to reach them. He takes this. Now, is this like a video game type thing? Like, does this boost the Witcher's power? Like, is this some sort of elixirs? See, I get those things in the games. I never use them. I don't know why I'm whispering it, but I never use those type of things in games. I just fight or I die. I never use boosts of any kind, really. I just upgrade my shit. But he finally is able to get through, and they fall down to the ground. And it's like, holy crap, that was intense. Finally, the queen agrees to the marriage, and she gets her king as well. He stands up and is like, hey, by the way, she accepted my proposal. I don't really think she did yet, but I think she is agreeing to it now that she realizes they're a good match. They're a good match. This is going to happen. And we get to finally get to the wedding. And it's probably kind of awkward since she just tried to kill the groom. But then the curse is actually broken. Like, I thought he was dying. I thought something else worse was going on. He falls on the ground. He's like, and turns into a man. And it's just like, this is R-rated fairy tales shit. And it's awesome. And he tells Geralt, I owe you, man. I saved my life, man. What can I do for you? Since this is a deal between him and this man, and the daughter Pavetta is now linked to him, he's like, well, I guess I'll just take laws of surprise. And everybody's like, no, you can't do that. He's like, what? Like, look, man, I don't want nothing. I don't want anybody to get. I'm not getting married to anybody. All right, I don't want to steal anything. And then all these like, Destiny. What does he say? He's like, he's about to say, damn it. Destiny can go fuck itself. That's what he was trying to say. And he goes, Destiny can go fuck, and she pukes, meaning she's with child. And so now he's like, fuck. So now there's like this bond between them all. The surprise is the baby. And there's this bond now that, eventually somewhere down the line, the child and him are linked. Now, they're thinking it's marriage, but we now know that, like, she's on the run and she's told by the queen in the first episode to find Geralt, which means to protect her life. And so that's where we catch up to time now. And Geralt, well, first off, he says he doesn't want anything to do with it. But Mousesack says, like you said, man, if you don't, but tragedy will befall everyone, and look what happens. The whole place falls apart. Now, that could have happened either way, but, maybe convenient-wise, but they all did die, just about. And so when we get back to the present, we see that the queen is found. They rip off her skin, they eat it, they gut the guy that ate it, and now they know that Ciri, through this magic bullshit, because I'm sorry, man. So they cut off her skin, somebody eats it, they gut the guy, and they look at the guts, and that somehow tells them where she is. Okay, that is the weirdest way to find directions I've ever heard in my life. Some people just pull over to a gas station and ask somebody for directions. Here we disembowel people. So we also find out, though, really cool, is that Mousesack is still alive. He did not die in the first episode like I thought. That's nice, because now that I've seen him in a couple of episodes and that he's friends with Geralt, now I'm down with this guy. I want to see him. I'm glad he's alive. And you know where she is, and that's the end of the episode. And that was fantastic. I'll probably have to do episode 5 before the end of today, or maybe tomorrow. I still have The Expanse to do as well. So, fantastic. Can't wait to see where else we go with this, because each episode just keeps getting better. It's going to be, only 8 episodes, so damn. But the production value-wise, this must have cost them a pretty penny over at Netflix. So, and again, I hope this goes on, and I hope the haters don't get too involved, and I hope that we can get like a few seasons of this show, because this is dope. So, all the haters out there, I don't know what your problem is. I don't have the same attachments to the source material that everybody else does, but, pardon me, this was great. And so if you liked this review, please hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, please become a subscriber. We have not had hardly any growth from this so far. I would have thought we would have, but that's okay. I don't do this for likes and subscribes. It's just nice to see movement when you're really passionate about doing something. Also, if you want, you can hit the bell for all notifications to make sure you know when all my videos are coming up. You can find me on Twitter at reviews_gun. If you feel so inclined, you can donate to my channel and help make it better by going to my PayPal, which is under paypal.me/SmirkingGunReviews, or even simpler, I started a coffee account at ko-fi/SmirkingGunReviews, where they just, you throw, like, it's for the price of a cup of coffee, like the starving kids get. So, anyway, this is Rob at Smirking Gun Reviews saying we'll be back with The Witcher Season 1, Episode 5, sooner rather than later. Have a great night. Peace out, everybody. Bye.